something I wanted to mention and forgot was, there's actually a 3-up moon that's in Donut Plains' last level before the castle. Like, it's way above the parachuting not Goombas. Anyways, I like that this is a dark forest. Or at the very least, it has a dark background. Of course, the lighting isn't darker. You know, I never liked this background. In fact, I never liked any of the backgrounds of Forest of Illusion. Which is, of course, the only area, which is, of course, the only world in the game that isn't named after food. But yeah, what are the backgrounds supposed to be? Because they don't, I don't know. The backgrounds are too vague. By throwing an enemy or object at a block very close to it, the block can be duplicated near it, leaving the original block untouched. There's an unused graphic in the game. It's a sign that has a Yoshi crossed out on it, referring to levels where he couldn't be used. So there was originally going to be even more levels where Yoshi couldn't be used. When you jump into the bubbles from any direction, really, they gimp your jump. So you have to be careful in that area, because if you jump into the bubbles when you're trying to jump over the pits, you'll fall stiffly into the pit. So they're pretty annoying. Like, it's merciful of the game to not attack you just because you jumped into the bubbles at all. Oh, come on. I almost made that. You know, I thought for sure that throwing the nut Goombas at those guys would kill them. But it didn't hurt them at all. Even though they can get one-shotted with shells just fine. Of course, you need to be Big Mario in order to get the secret exit here. Well, actually, I remember hearing that there's a glitch that you can do. Yoshi's tongue can actually get that key without you even needing to break the blocks. I remember because he does that. That's how you get the key in level in the Valley of Bowser. Somehow Yoshi's tongue actually, I guess it takes advantage of the 3D plane. So it goes into the background a little bit so it can go past the wall. You know, the reason I didn't show a transition into this level was because for some reason, well, actually this is referring to the Valley, the Vanilla Dome level, but where this happened before, but if you press Y when you're highlighting a level on the overworld map, you actually go into that level. You would think that only pressing A would do that. So, I think my foot touched the Y button in Vanilla Dome, and so I went into the Bullet Bills level by mistake before I could start recording. And with this level I pressed A, in this level I pressed A too quickly when I wasn't recording. But yeah, like, the previous room was a bit annoying because it was in such a cramped space, so you have to wait for the boost to move first before you can progress. And of course, knowing that you can spin jump off them harmlessly makes things easier. This walnut mushroom is basically a trap. You're better off not getting it. Like, it's so annoying having to deal with those boos, because, like, there's so many of them, and they constantly go to the bottom of the screen and attack you. This is a really, I really like that. Like, the background is completely black and barren, so you would think that you would never be able to get up here, but you have to get up here in order to beat the level. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. Like, it feels like you're going out of bounds by walking on the ceiling of the level, but you have to do that to progress. That's a troll. Shigeru Miyamoto wanted to have Yoshi in the first Mario game, but he couldn't because it was an NES game. I wish I knew more details on that. But yeah, like, there are 2 doors that lead out of the level. The furthest to the left one is a secret exit with the 3-up moon. And this is the one that I went to. I didn't start recording early enough. It's the one that's not to the furthest left is the path that actually goes somewhere. But yeah, it's pretty stupid that, like, they waste development time on making a path that goes back to the first level you've obviously already unlocked. You can't use Yoshi's tongue to collect this 1-up. You actually have to actually collect it. If you kill the Lakitu with the fire flower and collect the coin that it makes, that cloud will never disappear. So you'll always be able to use it. This is a glitch that, well, I'm surprised a lot more people, like, you'd think that a lot of people run into this by accident. But of course, like, I'm sure most people would just attack the Lakitu by throwing a shell up at him. Or by using the cape, because the cape is so much more popular, so you'd be using it a lot more. And plus, Lakitu barely ever shows up. I think he's in like, I don't know, 3 levels? Which is good because he's so annoying. Yeah, those are technically pronounced Lakitus, but I don't give a shit. It sounds way too Japanese. So I just prefer to call them Lakitus. I mean, since when are there really Japanese sounding enemy names in Mario? Aside from Super Mario Land 1. I'm not gonna use this cloud much of it all because I want to show off the actual level below it. And I can't do that if I'm soaring over the whole level. There's a sprite that's completely invisible at this part of the level that makes the Lakitu disappear. It was interesting for me to hear that they actually had a sprite make it disappear. Like, the Lakitu itself was not programmed to know to disappear in a certain area. The game's development team took 16 people 3 years. Just 16 people. Here I wanted to show off that you can throw a shell up to knock out the Lakitu, and it's actually the best way of dealing with it. And of course you can use your cape against it, too. You know, this area actually isn't very familiar to me at all. I think there's a reason that that it isn't very familiar to me though, because it's a completely useless secret area. It actually backtracks you in the level. So no wonder it's been forever since I went in there. You know, of course, it doesn't make any logical sense that there are bottomless pits to begin with, but, you know, that's obvious. Like, why would there be a bottomless pit in a forest? Like, it can't actually be bottomless. I think we only call them that because it's a 2D game, so we can't see the bottom of the pit. I don't know, maybe some meteorites hit those parts of the level, so they created those chasms a while ago. I like that they bothered to make the color of the grass there different from, you know, other grass parts and other lands. Like, it's good that they don't make every field level look exactly the same, with the same aesthetic, as in. This is the most boring and easy level in the entire game. But it's still possible to die in it if you're trying too hard to collect the star coins. If you just stick with the same one, the left one, you'll be able to collect all the star coins. Well, maybe I have to jump to the other one towards the end. But, yeah, you barely have to do anything this level. In the GBA version, there's actually a bunch of 1-ups to the right of the goalpost. And you can't collect them unless you use these things to soar over the goal tape. But if you try doing that in the Super Nintendo version, then you'll just complete the level, even though you don't want to. I think it has to be specifically programmed to let you go over the goalpost, which is quite different from Mario 1. You know, I always thought that the background scrolling so fast to the left was a pretty bad effect. It does nothing to make me feel like you're actually going fast with these things. They always felt slow. It's just the background that's going fast, and that's pretty weird looking. Like, in general, the game has pretty simple graphics, and that's noticeable right from the first level. Of course, that's a nitpick. It doesn't actually matter. It's just that it's pretty obvious that this was released, like, pretty early for the Super Nintendo. Like, especially in the backgrounds. Like the grass in the first world, for example, it looks like the field is not completely grass. It's just that there's a little bit of grass on the very top of the field. This is a pretty tense level, actually. Like, this is a pretty tense room. You really are better off unlocking the blue blocks to make this easier, because it's really cheap to be expected to jump over that pit when you're expected to avoid these grinders and avoid being crushed. It's very convenient that the crush is not a complete guaranteed instant kill. Whenever I play this on the Super Nintendo version, I always feel cheated at the fact that I don't have a checkpoint around here. And I was pretty nervous here. There's a glitch I could easily show off, but I guess I was too nervous about getting myself killed because I didn't have the checkpoint. So I put it off until after I beat the level. Again, it would be pretty difficult if you didn't know that you can't spin jump on these things and be perfectly fine. You know, I can see why they took out the fact that the spin jump makes you bounce off so many stuff harmlessly in new Mario games. I can actually see why they took that out now, because it's really overpowered. Like, it's ridiculously overpowered. Like how, like, to the right there, to the right of that door is a whole bunch of 1-ups, like 10 1-ups in yellow blocks each. And actually, if you duplicate those blocks, then actually they'll contain something else instead. I think they're programmed to contain something else if they're in a different area. And, like, it's actually pretty hard to fly over the lava to get to all those 1-ups and the door to the Resners, because there's these Podoboos, which are the stupidest names for jumping fireballs ever. But yeah, like, oh yeah, if you hold L and R at the same time, you go back into a castle or fortress. That's a glitch. It's obvious that you're not actually intended to kill the grinders, but they didn't really think ahead, so they didn't make a proper death animation. But anyways, I mean, if you can go, like, it's for the story that you see the castle or fortress get destroyed on the map, because you do that, you destroy it in the cutscene after you beat the level. But they clearly didn't think ahead with that, because then they realized, wait, people might actually want to replay these levels. So they decided to make an extremely unintuitive quick fix where you have to press L and R to beat the level again without starting a new file. But I hope they told you that in the manual. Of course, no matter what shell is in the mouth of a red Yoshi, it'll spit out. And you have to feed the baby Yoshi, like, I think it's 5 different things for it to grow up. That is the fastest growing up ever. I didn't care enough about the red Yoshi to go get it again. I feel like he's the least valuable. I mean, if you're really struggling against the enemies in this game, then the Tri-Fire will be pretty useful. But I prefer the blue Yoshi. Like, I feel like the blue Yoshi is leaps and bounds ahead of all the other Yoshis, even if it is way too broken. I'm glad I was able to show that off, that it actually gave me a 1-up, even though all I did at the end was just land on the shell. Like, there's plenty of opportunities where you can just bounce on a whole bunch of different paratroopas and then get a extra life because you got 10,000 points. You can actually beat this game in just 12 levels by taking advantage of the star roads. Because you can have a star road accessed by the first world. Like, the reason I'm doing the star road levels in this order, where I do one per world, basically, is because that's what I always did as a kid. I didn't do them all at once. I just did the levels as I unlocked them. But yeah, I can understand why they don't do this again, where they let you access a special world in the second world, and then you can actually go to Bowser's castle by completing these special areas. Because, like, that's pretty broken. That's definitely, that's a speedrun, alright. There's nothing really wrong with that, but it is pretty weird.